good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it may be to you right now. I just wanted to formally.
Hi everyone, welcome to Scoopet's podcast. And today we have with us Mr. Scott Buell as our guest. So Scott is the founder of Drone Legends and is also the chairman and CEO of Dynamic Learning Experiences. Scott is originally from Washington, D.C. area in the US, but he moved to Philadelphia to attend the University of Arts as an illustration major, but soon realized that art is just a hobby for him, not a career. So he subsequently moved to St. Joseph's University and completed his bachelor's in marketing communications. And in the late 80s and into the early 90s, he was a rocker with the spandex, mesh shirt, pieced hair, eyeliner. You get the picture. So after graduating from college, Scott joined the pharmaceutical industry and spent solid 20 plus years in various business development roles in the pharmaceutical marketing space. He had his highs and lows, but it's the day-to-day grind is where he learned his most precious business lessons. But in the year 2019, Scott found himself completely unfulfilled and turned to drones, his hobby of 6 years, and hasn't looked back since. All right. Would you like to add anything else so that our listeners can get to know you even better?
You actually did a very nice job there. Thank you very much. Could I keep that for posterity? No, I like that. That was a good summary of my experience. I think, 2019 was a pivotal year for me. It was, I guess there's an old expression, man realizes he has two lives, one when he's born and one realizes his, when you know your time here is limited. And so I think in my early 50s, I kind of took a look around and went, what the heck am I doing? And it wasn't what I wanted to do. It wasn't what was fulfilling or anywhere near bringing me any kind of joy or happiness. So I decided to find something that did.
Great. So today in our Scoopets podcast, we will be talking about how drones are going to shape the future of our education. And I am totally looking forward to it. So let's begin, shall we? So, Scott, drones are playing a pivotal role in the industries like agriculture, marine, aviation, oil and gas, and also in movie industry, to name a few. But still, for majority of people, when they think about drones, what usually comes to their mind is that, oh, yeah, they're fun and exciting to play with, but nothing serious, and chances are that drones are not even that prevalent in the education sector, but I'm sure that's about to change. So when you think about ways to use drones, what's the first thing that comes to your mind, and how are drones going to shape the future of our education?
Okay, there's a lot there. Let me unpack it a bit. So I'll talk about the first part of your question, which was where are all the applications, and you're right. So if you think about the commercial drone industry, I mean, when I started flying a drone probably 7-8 years ago, it was real hobby-like, right? I mean, I remember I was the kind of weird guy in my neighborhood that was the guy that flew the drone around, and I was that weirdo. And I guess there's still some to that. But it was really hobby. It wasn't, you didn't see it on the mainstream radar. It just didn't show up. Whereas today you say drone and people can think about, oh yeah, I've seen news articles where somebody was just rescued in Switzerland with a drone, or I've seen them delivering medicines, or Amazon talks about packages. It's entered into the kind of consumer lexicon, right? Drones as more than just a toy. And so I think that's kind of changed the way that people think about drones. And there's the other connotation about drones for war, right? Which I kind of stay away from in our educational space because it's not something I want to talk about, really. I don't try to skirt it, but it's out there. And so that's when you say drones, a lot of people go, oh, military weapons and things like that, which is not necessarily the case anymore, right? It's a lot of other applications. In terms of the prevalence in education, you'd actually be surprised. They are becoming very prevalent in education. I'm just one of many that is doing variations of the same thing around different schools. We like to think we've got a different approach, but the reality is that drones are being used from K to 12. And teaching them different kinds of things along those different age brackets. When you're younger, you're talking a little bit about physics, introduction to physics, aerodynamics, some basic block computer coding. We use a little the DJI Tello, and we use the Drone Blocks app to connect that you can do some coding. So, some block coding principles, functions, looping, variables, some basic preliminary stuff. When you get into the high school level, at least here in the US, and it's probably similar in different countries around the world, but here in the US, you've only got to be 16 years old to get an operator's license by the FAA, a commercial operator's license, which means now you can monetize your hobby, right? And so at the high school level, it really becomes more of a career track than it does when we're teaching kids things in elementary school. In elementary school, my focus, I'm in middle school, I'm really out to let kids have a lot of fun with the tool, and teach them that there are future career applications. So when we think about how we structure our curriculum, it's in missions that are drawn from the news. Like, hey, a drone was used to do this. Okay, let's take that scenario and let's stretch that out and turn it into a lesson. And let's let the kids see they're learning all kinds of things: computer science, engineering design, problem-based learning, social emotional learning, working in teams to solve challenges, collaboration, coding. And we blend all of that into lessons. But, we're hoping that we'll spark the interest in the technology as well. Did I answer your question?
Yes. I think that's gave an overview for all the listeners out there. And Scott, I'm sure, kids in general would usually imagine flying an airplane. And now, thanks to our technology, these drones have become like a mini airplanes that I'm sure anybody can fly and grab everyone's attention. And children are naturally attracted to technologies. So how do drones capture the attention of kids and excite them as well while learning?
That's how I got started in this. So in 2019, I didn't jump right into education. I started a drone business. And I have different drones. I have big drones. I have the Mavics and I have all this. And I would fly my drone. And one of the things that I noticed, whenever I would fly, I would turn around and I'd always have a little group of kids behind me. And they all wanted to get into the drone. They wanted to fly it. They wanted to see it. They were enamored by it. It's what I call the magic of drones, right? So what is my mission? I'm out to create tomorrow's legends. I use the drone as a means to an end, right? So I look at the drone as it's got that ability to grab a child's attention. You're right. There's something about the technology. There's something about the ability to fly. There's something about seeing. Let me just use my area. I live out near Philadelphia, right? So the city of Philadelphia in the United States. When I would fly in the parks near the city, the kids with awe would watch their city from, 250 feet in the air. And there's something about that that's exhilarating. When the thing takes off, it's still, even these little guys, when they take off, there's this kind of physical rush that happens. It's an excitement. It's something, it brings out the kid in everybody from 8 to 80. And so it's really when I saw that, I was like, oh, there is something here. Imagine using this to teach children. And I want to teach children character, right? So what I thought was, well, I have your attention. What's my obligation? What am I going to do with that attention?
Oh, right. That's really interesting. And like you've said, there are different types of drones and probably for various purposes. So what are the types of drones that you will let a child use when they are just starting out? Is there any significant difference among the drones that you have with you?
Yeah, there really is. At the elementary school level, we use the Tello. It's made by DJI. They're the largest manufacturer in the world. They make the Mavics, the Phantoms, the Matrice, the Inspire. These are big commercial drones and prosumer drones, I would call them as well. This is a very safe drone. It's very lightweight. It takes a beating. It actually is very resilient. A lot of kids holding this thing. A lot of children have held on to this drone. Hope it's clean. There's been a lot of hands on this drone, and young hands, 9, 10, 11 years old. They're very stable. They have a positioning system that allows the drone to hover in place when it takes off. So there's no learning to fly this drone is easier. When I first started out, you had to keep it aloft as well. Now most drones have an altitude hold. Changes the game. It's very hard to do that both. In a lot of ways, I'm glad I flew that way because it's kind of like learning to drive on a stick shift, which they don't make anymore, right? You drive that, you can drive anything. So yeah, I'm glad I learned that way. But this is the drone that we use. There have been other educational drones out there, but for my money, this is it because we can code with this drone. It's a great little outdoor drone, provided there's no wind. It's too light to fly in any kind of weather. But if it's a still day, get a little 720 camera on it. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but you can catch some good lighting. It'll take some neat video and stuff. It's a great starter drone. I think a starter kit's like 100 US, so it's not horrible with one battery and stuff. So this is the drone, the Tello. We use it.
Okay. All right. So earlier, like you mentioned that for a license, to fly a drone, a child has to be like 16.
16 here in the States, yeah.
Okay.
In the United States.
Do you have a license with you? Or
I do. I have one. You want to see it?
Sure, why not?
Here, what's that? Come here. Yeah, I should have had this out. So this is my Mavic. So here we go. This is my commercial drone operator's license. Okay. All right. That's from the Federal Aviation Administration, United States of America on top. It's my unmanned aerial systems operator's license. Okay. I'm a remote pilot. I'm an official remote pilot.
Yay.
Yay, right? 16 years old now. And this is my Mavic. That's the Mavic Pro. That's a nice drone there. This is a little bigger, but made by the same people that make that. Right? Just a little bit bigger. A little bit bigger, a little more. I haven't flown this in a while. So so 16 years old here in the States to get your commercial drone remote pilot license.
All right. Thanks a lot for all that information.
Oh, you're welcome.
Amazing. So, Scott, in the recent years, drones have started to play a significant role, like you've mentioned, in STEM curriculum and also in education in general. And like you've said earlier, drones are helping kids to learn various concepts. Also, I'm sure drones are kind of easy to learn to fly and also are quite inexpensive, to be honest, which is making them accessible to everybody, right? And you have your own drone STEM curriculum, and I'm sure it must be engaging and interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, but some schools may be still reluctant to adapt this concept. So what's the hardest part in approaching schools and convincing them to include a drone in their existing curriculum? And how including a drone in a curriculum is going to aid a student's learning and development?
So let me go back to what you said earlier, is they're easy to fly. It's like anything else. It's not so easy if you've never been taught. So, around the holidays, there was a hashtag trending on Twitter that was like drone crash Christmas, because everybody gets a drone and they all crash it within the first 10 minutes. They throw it up on a roof, they lose it in a tree, it blows away somewhere because nobody sat down and took 10 minutes to show them the basics, right? Throttle, yaw, pitch, and roll. They just turn it on and stick it up in the air and off it goes. And so, yeah, it's easy if you know what you're doing. I think that's part of the challenge, is bringing a drone program into schools, is that, again, you just don't know what you don't know, right? Oftentimes that's the biggest challenge. It can be overwhelming when you start from zero. It can look like an insurmountable mountain of what am I going to do with that? That was my experience when I started out. It's the experience I see with a lot of our educators that start out with us for the first time. It's why we take training and development so seriously here. We offer unlimited professional development for the life of the program, that you can jump in at any course across the year. And we talk about the drone technology, but we also talk about how to teach the program. The second part of that is, So let me stop there for a minute. So flying the drone, it's important if you're going to use it in that way. Some people get the drone and they just want to use it for coding purposes. Okay, I think that's limited, but all right, that's not true STEM. That's part of STEM. It's coding. It isn't STEM in and of itself. STEM is the integration of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. 2, so how do you convince somebody if they're on the fence? Like, what is it? I think this is and I think you hit on a key point there. The perception, it's easy to think that we're just a bunch of kids playing around with a toy, isn't it? Right? I think that's the perception sometimes is why am I going to, and to be true, they're not cheap. There's cheaper ways to teach kids, right? You are buying technology, you're buying drones and iPads and batteries. And so the costs can add up. So what you have to ask yourself is, what's the ROI on that? Why am I going to invest in this versus something else? We talk about other robotics tools. There's a little ball that rolls around. You probably know what it is. When somebody asks me, well, what's the difference between this and that? I say, I can teach real world application with this. So I can teach kids our curriculum. See, you also need a program. You know, when I started, I didn't have a program. I was standing there completely like this. Like, now what? I have all these kids that want to do it. They're excited as heck. I'm excited, but I really don't know. What do I teach a kid? What am I doing? But the reality is that you can teach so much. Think about it. Physics, engineering, programming, operations, troubleshooting, problem solving, real world skills. We blend in literature because we're in a book format, right? We're teaching kids to read. We're teaching them vocabulary and geography. So many things. And one of my curriculum writers, she loves it. She has this great thing. She goes, what I love about this is that it gives me an instant feedback on a mission. Did I do something right or incorrect? Or does it need, let's use a different word. Have I failed well? Have I forward failed, right? Have I not, do I have to go back and iterate? Well, the drone allows you to see that in real time. Instant, right? It's instant feedback. Sure. If I'm going to do some sort of a coordinates mission, for example, let's say we're talking about XY 3-dimensional space coordinates, and one of our missions is to take our drones to Japan to help researchers save the bees by using little micro drones to pollinate lilies, right? So when we're thinking about 3-dimensional space, then we're going to have them land inside lilies, flowers. Well, they've got to do some mathematical equations to get there. And this allows them to see that while it's also learning about, oh, there's a research application here. We're using the drone to solve a real world problem. I'm integrating mathematics. I'm integrating science. I'm integrating technology. I'm thinking this through. We have an engineering design process through each one of our missions. So the kids are working through that process, and then they're working in teams to solve the problem. So think of all the different things we've done with that.
Whoa, that's mind-blowing. That's
in one mission.
Yeah.
So think about that. It's not something that happens with general robotics, pure coding. You go to code something online, we're filling it all in. We got geography, so we're going places, we're doing things, we're experimenting, we're really like here we're fighting fires. We're going to Los Angeles, and we're fighting wildfires with drones, and it's fun, it's exciting, and the kids. My mission was this. Here was me when you saw my picture, and I'll even share it on the podcast if you want, with the hair and everything. But when I was a little kid, I was the guy in the back of the class like this, like, teach me something. So there's a reason Drone Legends isn't just Drobots or Droblocks or bytes or bits, because my kids aren't that. They're legends. Right inside each one of them lives potential, a unique potential. And I wanted to create a brand because, let's face it, the tech kids are always going to be drawn to this stuff. The coders are going to want to code. The engineering kids are going to want to. The STEM kids are going to be drawn to STEM activities. But what about those that aren't? So when you flip it and you make it feel exciting like this, my program is academically rigorous. It's very academic, but it doesn't feel like it, right? Because we're coming in as legends. You're part of this thing. And that is the mission, is to use that magic, to use that appeal, Gimbal, the artificial intelligence drone, to bring kids on these awesome missions. That catches that's a wider net, right? It takes the non-tech kids and it brings them in and exposes them to the technology and to the applications of engineering. And so that's what excites me. Not so much the drone, I'll be completely honest. It's the application of what we can do with kids, how much we can teach with the drone and inspire children to be future engineers and programmers and legends of tomorrow, right?
Yes, yes. So children who think that they are not really that much into tech, I'm sure drones are going to excite them as well. I think
Right.
it'll be fun. It'll be amazing for those
Yeah.
kids who are usually overwhelmed with a lot of technicalities.
Right,
All right.
right.
All right. Scott, currently North America has got the highest market share when it comes to drones, and I'm sure other regions are also catching up. In Asia, however, drone curriculum is still new, unlike the US, which now obviously requires massive resources like workforce, software, and budgeting. So, what kind of support are you providing in this process, and what are the other resources that schools can rely on?
So there's a little bit there. So there is the costs of running physical drone programs in your schools. Obviously, it's more fun when you have a physical drone. Typically a program of ours requires 6 to 7 drones, an iPad to control them. These fly using an application, not a controller. It's the controller's built into the app. So you need some sort of a tablet. So right there, you're running into hardware technology costs. Our curriculum and training isn't ridiculous. I think what you'll find is that it's structured in such a way that the value's there because it provides all the scaffolding you need. You've got the education. As a teacher, like, what am I teaching? That's right here. This is what you're teaching. So we've done all that for you. But we did something last summer where we had to design a drone challenge for the international market. And we taught kids about drones. We told them all the different things they're doing, from, you mentioned at the beginning, agriculture, mining, search and rescue, medicine delivery, firefighting, saving lives, package delivery, whatever it is. I mean, there's indoor drones that do inspection. You've got cameras that are sophisticated imaging technologies. You've got mapping and modeling, and so you can help with architecture and construction site and surveying and crop health, and it's so many different things you can do with these aerial robotics, right? So you can teach them about that and have them design a drone that, just on paper. We had them do whatever you want. You could draw it. You could sketch it in a 3D model if you wanted. You could make it out of clay, paper. You could even do, we were even having kids, they did Shark Tank, right? Like they did their little video of, hi, I created a drone, And they did a little video of themselves. What world problem did it solve? No drone required. It didn't cost anything. So you can still talk about the technology, the applications, and engineering design, and let kids think about how they might construct a drone that solves a world problem. That's an easy one to do in the classroom as an activity that requires no drone. You can go to YouTube and show the kids videos of drones doing those kinds of things, right?
Right.
So you can take this, as big and small as you want. If you want to run a real drone program in your school, then yeah, you do need to start getting all the hardware and stuff. And again, these are very safe. They're meant for indoors. So yeah, I mean, it really depends on what's your budget. Are you convinced that drones are the right tool? I am, obviously. And, what are you hoping to accomplish? What are your objectives? Like, why are you doing this? I think it always stems down to, why would you do this? And what are you trying to accomplish? If you can answer those questions, the other stuff starts to fall into place.
Sure. Yeah, that's totally right. And I guess I saw a child showing his drone a sketch, I guess, on your YouTube channel, right?
You did. He was one of the winners of that
Yes,
contest.
yes.
Yeah,
That
I
was,
forget his name. I forget. Oh, it's escaping me now. But you can go on our YouTube channel and you
yes,
can see it.
I
And
saw
you can
that.
see there were two winners. We had a boy from California, and we had another boy from Australia.
Right. And they just did it on paper. I mean, the video that I saw, the boy just drew it on a paper and he was
Drew it on
explaining
paper.
it, and I was like, wow.
They were really incredible what these kids did. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. It makes me feel kind of like, hey, now. Yeah, I was like, ooh, that kid's good. Yeah, so again, they needed nothing. They drew it out. But they won a drone. Now they each have their own drone. So yeah, we gave them a drone.
Oh,
So
interesting.
yeah.
Lovely. All right. So, Scott, now global skill shortages in STEAM fields is actually redefining our educational priorities. So much so that schools have now started their own STEAM/STEM based learning programs to equip kids with skills and knowledge to thrive in the 21st century. So can you give any example as to how to bring drones with integration, with STEAM in the classroom? Like, can you give us some examples how it happens in real time?
Okay. You can bootstrap it, meaning you can go out and get yourself some telos. You can do some research. You can create your own missions or lessons or applications, and you can run it by yourself without any help. You can, if you think you've got that to do that, you can do it. If you think you've got it in you, and lots do, we're not the only people that can do this. Then that's something you can bring in on your own. Or you can bring in a program like ours, which is designed to help the non-drone STEM expert become a drone STEM provider. It's got everything you need. In other words, that was our mission, was to create something that anybody could run, right? It's very largely student run. I mean, the students work out of their own mission guide. So they are using this as their resource. There's an operations manual that gives them, I have a question. I don't know about, what about the blades? How did I put the propellers on? Oh, it's on page 9 of the ops manual. So we like to make it student-led with the teacher as a facilitator, but there's an educator planner here. So that says, hey, in that mission number 5, you need the following materials, which we provide. So we've got even the materials. So we figured out how to make this work in a classroom. My experience was that most drone programs that were sold to schools would do something like, go find this and try to connect it with that. And then it was too loose. I wanted to create a system. We've watched this program run around the world, all over the country, here in the US, Australia, New Zealand. Every time, the kids are doing the same exact thing, no matter if they're running it in Australia or if they're running it in Philadelphia. It's the same program. Why is that important? Consistency, predictability. By creating a system, we've been able to take all the ambiguity out of it. You follow the recipe and you'll be fine. And we train you like crazy, because I know that I'm asking the teachers around the world to deliver my brand promise to the children. So they aren't trained, if they don't feel empowered, and if they're not excited about it, as enthusiastic about it as I am, we are missing something. And the students don't get the benefit of that experience that they should be having. So we train, provide all the level of scaffolding and support, and have built a system that we believe allows any teacher to become a really awesome STEM drones teacher, or homeschool. There's a huge group of people out there that are homeschooling now.
Yeah.
And so we've got options for them as well. Because how do I do this in the house with one child? We'll show you.
Wow. That's like a whole package that you're offering, which is
It's an entire
amazing.
package. It's turnkey, as they like to say.
Right. Also, Scott, so new technologies disrupt the market and open up new career opportunities. And as we've talked earlier, in the case of drones, the industries like, again, agriculture, marine, aviation, oil and gas, infrastructure, to name a few industries, are being totally transformed. And drones are now, like, indeed, the 21st century's fastest growing technologies with incredible career opportunities in the STEAM field. So, can you talk a bit about how teachers can equip themselves and children for these new career opportunities, like how teachers can guide kids?
Mhm. So at the younger level, it's much more simplified, right? It's like what we're doing. Introduce the children to the idea of drones as a career. They're too young to be really thinking about careers, but we had a child, his name is Arnav, went through our program here in the States, and I got an email from his mother with an attachment that was a little flyer, and it said, "Flying high drones. When you fly high, you will not deny. Contact Arnav for," he was taking his tello, 9 years old, and he was going door to door and putting these flyers in the doors. And he made a company, a drone company. He was inspecting gutters, taking pictures of people's houses for $5 cash.
Whoa.
My man Arnav, right? He's out there hustling. And so he got it right away. He said, "That's drones as a business." And he's an entrepreneur at heart, right? A little young entrepreneur. He went out and created his own drone business. Okay, so that's great. At the middle school and high school levels, you start to change tact a little bit in terms of getting more serious about learning how to truly operate a drone, safety, regulations. You know, when you start to put big drones in airspace, it becomes an issue. And different countries have different laws and regulations that you have to abide by. That's where you start to teach those children truly as if they were going to take their Part 107 here in the States license test. I've seen, and we don't do that. It's, I'm always a big fan of do one thing really well and leave everything else to everybody else, right? I mean, initially there's own what you do and be the best at it, period. And if everybody else wants to go off and try 20 different things at once, that's their prerogative. It's not what we do here. We specialize. And so if you want the best drones at the middle and elementary school level, you've got us. If you want high school and all that, there's other people that do really great stuff, from weaving in entrepreneur classes into it, marketing, business, because you're going to sell it. It's not like get a drone, get a license and go make money. What are you going to do? So I think at the high school level, you start to get more into, we don't do any of the robotics, like we don't build. That opens up different things. Like, can you start building drones? Do you start looking about the airspace? Are you thinking about this? So it really is about how you approach it, right? So you can approach drones from like a robotics perspective, engineering, designing, building, understanding the circuitry, understanding the rotation and how to build a drone, right? That's robotics and engineering. Well, you can look at it from a pure coding perspective. Am I coding the drone, programming, or flight and operations and business, right? Do you have an idea? Security or whatever it is. What is your idea? Zipline drones, they went after the medicine delivery. They're amazing. They've created such an amazing business and they're saving lives with drones. So I think it's kind of thinking about the different opportunities and options, and classes can be tailored for that. So you can have a purely robotics class that focuses on drones. And then maybe I know here, Ken Barry, he runs a drone challenge where they're doing a robotics drone challenge. You're building, it's the high school level. But then there's classes that are really teaching kids, like here in the States, don't fly over 400 feet, keep drone in line of sight. Got to be this age to do that. It's pure 107 stuff. And that's fine too. Blend a little bit of that into classes. I think they might have to take, it could be a track. There's an idea. Hey, you're going to start with robotics 101 or drones 101, and then you might move into programming and autonomy. And then you might move into robotics and engineering, and then maybe you've got some business classes to cut those chops as well.
Sure. I think you covered everything. I mean, probably the listeners out there would be getting a lot of ideas out of what you've just said. Finally, would you like to add anything else, Scott, for all our listeners out there?
Have fun. Be creative. It's fun. This is what it is. I know there's an element we want to teach, right? And so we do teach, but this is fun. There's something about this. We talked about this, the magic of drones. This will get kids engaged. So let them have fun with it. Not mayhem, not chaos, but controlled fun. And be creative. Think a little bit about, we could, I've talked a lot about all the different things you can do: scenario planning, teamwork, collaboration, challenges, robotics, engineering, software development, business classes. Think about what you want to do. What is it that you're really after for your students? And find the thing that makes you excited about it. And if you need help, there's people like us. If you're completely like, I just think it would be cool, but I don't really have the time. There's that, right? There's time and resources. Because let's be honest, there's a lot of really smart people that they could write curriculum, they could come up with ideas, they could do it, but they don't have the time. Especially when you talk about teachers and they're stretched so thin as it is, right? So why dump more work on them when there's options that have already done it for them? And then they could just be the heroes, and they can kind of hang out and be the hero that brought it in, right?
Yeah.
So I think just have fun and be creative, and then think about what it is start with why, as Simon Sinek likes to say. Why are you doing this, and what is the end result that you're hoping to achieve?
Sure. Thanks a lot for sharing your inputs today, Scott. And with this, we come to the end of our conversation. And I'd like to thank all the listeners who tuned into our podcast today. And keep following us on all the other social media channels. We have got more stuff coming in. Once again, thanks a lot, Scott. It's been wonderful talking to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I hope this was helpful.
Yes.